Hello friends, I am continuing the series on building a Tauri app using Rust and React. Today I'll be discussing a very interesting topic. Interestingly, whatever the problem statement I'm going to explain, I spent around couple of hours today, but I am unable to sort it out. So it is a kind of failure demonstration. What is the problem statement I'm trying to solve, and what are the learning I have made during this course of resolving the issue. I will learn it on, so I'll try to explain it in detail. So this would be mostly Rust heavy. So I won't going to explain more about React today. In a summary, the problem statement is that for my Rust project, I'm using some third-party crate, for example, AWS DynamoDB, and that is returning some kind of schema or struct. So I don't want to transform it and create my own custom trait. I want to deserialize that trait provided by third-party library and return it back to React.js so it can be rendered in the front end. So in the previous video, I have already explained how we can serialize and deserialize the struct we create. It is quite easy in using Sunday. Only thing we have to make it like this derive macro. We have to write deserialize and serialize. Only by making these two, serialize and deserialize, we can able to send it back to the React very easily. But let's assume a scenario where we are trying to use a third-party crate and they have not implemented this deserialize and serialize. So can we do that? So that's what I'm trying to make it work. For example, I'm trying to use this describe table functionality, which will take this table name as an input argument, returning a table return. So this works seamlessly because this table structure I define. If you go to the schema here, this table contains the table name, partition key, and short key, and the item count. Only 4 fields I have extracted, and I have a control about this struct. That's why I am able to do this serialize, or I can make serialize, deserialize, whatever I want it. So we can talk to React as well as Rust very easily. For example, this describe table, the response from DynamoDB contains lots of more information than what is needed. Currently what I'm doing, I'm calling this describe table and passing this table name. And if you see this struct type is like table description. And once I get that, I'm only extracting this partition key, short key, and very less value out of it. But if you open this table description, let me open it. We have to, okay. Yeah, it took a while. Sorry for that. This is the model.rs, the crate I'm using, that is AWS SDK DynamoDB crate. This is the crate which is providing most of the functionality. On the model.rs, this is not the model.rs is not located inside my scope of project. This is located inside this external crate, AWS SDK DynamoDB. If you see this struct, it is public type, and we don't have serialize and deserialize here. It is the derive macro, for example, clone and partial equal. clone is to take a duplicate of it, and partial equal is can be useful for comparing it to different instance of table description. But if you see here, it contains so many fields: attribute definition, table name, key schema, table status, and so many fields. If you just I want to, already the schema is present, I don't want to transform it again and again. I just want to, like in the JavaScript world, the way we do JSON.stringify and print that information, same thing I want to show in a snapshot into a, in my client. So if I try to execute this in this Rust program, I put this debug statement. I'll show you what are the attributes it contain. So I'm executing this cargo T describe table. This is a test I've written, and with some flags like no capture. So it will print this debug statement. So if you notice over here, the attribute definition with the primary key and the data type, and short key is the data type, and the table name, key schema. There are plenty of creation date and provision throughput. So it contains plenty of information. So my primary intention is to, because I am able to debug this information, so I should able to serialize and deserialize it quite easily, right? But it turns out it is not quite easy. I'll try to explain what are the problem and challenges I face. The first part, I spent some time into understanding this use case, how we can do deserialize and serialize a third-party crate or a different crate. So I'm going to this Saturday, it is known as remote derive, or the documentation of Saturday. So it provides some kind of pointers or some kind of example how we can do that. It is not impossible, but there are certain way. But even though I implemented all this thing, I'll explain how I follow this documentation, and provided that implementation, still I face some kind of issues and challenges. So this particular article is talk about same thing. Like if it is a different crate, can we serialize and deserialize it? Unfortunately, by default, we can't put serialize and deserialize on top of that trait, because there is a Rust orphan rule is there, which required that either the trait or the type which you are implementing the trait must be defined in the same crate as the IMPL. So it is not possible to implement serialize and deserialize in a different crate directly. So it is clearly mentioned that directly there is no easy shortcut way we can implement. But there are certain ways to do that. So let's say we given one example. Let's say this is the other trait, duration, and it must be like public. All the fields should be public, or struct should be public. And luckily, if you see that case, our cases all the fields are public, right? So this struct is also public, and this public. So it is what is trying to say, this table description, it is interested to me copy it again. So once we can copy this struct again, we duplicate all the fields and put a def just to differentiate. You can put any name, but you are going to use later point of time, and you copy all this attribute here, and also in this case you can, because this is becoming your own trait, so you'll basically copy this particular original trait inside your project. And once you do that, so you can you can just simply put serialize and deserialize. On top of that, you have to mention this particular another attribute like remote duration. In this case, you have to mention the correct type name. This is first part. So I go on ahead and did that. So I created a one module. Let me, so it will throw some error. DOI table. So if you use another file, by automatically Rust won't recognize it. So to make it recognize, we can create some public function or struct here, and you have to do mod stand for module, and this file name. Then it will be automatically compiled, and Rust compiler also will recognize and throw some errors. But coming to this, so if you see here, I put this derive, serialize and deserialize, and giving this third day remote as remote description, table description. This table description is same as this one. This one. And I copied all this field, whatever is available here. So I remove the comment. So this attribute definition, all these copies I've made. And because it is a nested structure, like this attribute definition also, so I have to copy all these fields. So if you see this attribute definition also I copied, only the standard option type and string I have not copied. So if it is referred to scalar type, I copied everything and put serialize and deserialize and follow the same pattern. Remote attribute definition and definition ref. So if you see that, so I copied everything. So I spent quite a bit of time because I was a bit optimistic that this may, solve the issue at all together. Then all good till now. Then one more challenge I face. Yeah, if you see this, the create and date time is AWS Mantine types. This is from another crate. And it contains date time. So I have also followed the same approach. Yeah. Here also I did serialize, deserialize, and given this set the remote type and give the def here. But if you see here, there are a little bit more annotation I put here, the getter. Because if you notice over here, if I go back to this particular trait, it is not public. These are private fields. So we have to do some special magic on that. But luckily there is some documentation available here. So if the remote type is struck with all public fields or enum, that's all is to it. So only thing we have to just add this, remote duration. But if the remote type is like one or more private field, a getter must be provided. And some conversion is to be done. So for example, if there is a private field like this, we have the same similar field. So we have to provide some getters. Like for example, getters. And we have to provide some this IMPL from duration depth to duration. So this also I have done it. So if you go back to my code, so I am using getter from this date time types. I found this getter like seconds and nanoseconds. If you see that here, we can get this getters here, as you defined there. Yeah, seconds is written in seconds, so these are the getters. And subsecond, nanosecond is the other, getters. So till now it is all good. And I have implemented a from trait from date time refer to this date time. So it is simple initialization of this date time field by using this another function like from sex and nanos. So I pass those two parameter and this type is created. This is not very complicated. So this from trait we can implement. It is a few lines of code. And after I done that, when I try to do this, serialize and deserialize, and it is recommended to use like this approach. Set the width. So wherever we are needed to use this remote ref, this dead time ref we define here, and it is recommended to use this one. But if you save it, so there are two problems here. Like just before I shown to you, this particular file become very complex. So I just extracted the simple example case, the dead time issue where I am facing. This should troubleshoot better. So whenever I use this set date dead time ref, it complains some other error. Because it is unable to apply for this, option type directly. The daytime, this is not compatible. If you see this, there is a issue in that. So for few error I'm able to resolve, but if you use like set day with daytime ref, by default it works well with the normal daytime. If we have only daytime over here, it should work. But because we have already option here, so it is complaining. The daytime ref is not compatible with this option here. So to resolve it, I went to this set day issue. They are also facing the same issue, serialize or deserialize remote struct with option T. If you see here, that option T, they are able to complain the same error I got here. So this is one of the lead developer, David Tolnay from SetDay. So he provided some way to, make it work. And also if you see this, I also implemented the same logic. I created a module, serialize and deserialize, and did the same thing. So this error gone. So we, instead of using this datetime ref, we could have used like the datetime def. This is the module name, whatever we created it. And it provides the serialize and deserialize method. So this option is supported. And if you don't try to implement this lots of code, there is a setday.with create is there. That is a kind of extension with this setday with trait. So I try to use it, but I am not very successful on that. And also because this was working for my case, so I left this idea to use setday with. But if you are having some other special needs like box, and it has some additional functionality, when you are dealing with remote CAD, it can be used. But once you implement that particular error is gone. But if you see this, so once I able to copy it and implement this option type also, and provided the implement everything, so I feel it would be complete. But still there is a tiny bit of squiggly line with the deserialize. And now it is complaining about cannot create non-exhaustive struct using struct expression. So this error I am blocked, and I try to spend some time on to understanding what it is. If I try to compile it, it is also saying the same error, cannot create non-exhaustive struct using struct expression. This is the error I am getting. And if you see this particular message here, it gives the message code. If I type it and to get some more information. This error indicates the struct, in my case it is struct, cannot be instantiated from outside. Probably because of that logic, right? IMPL and the additional thing we have done for set D. So if it is any set D is trying to serialize and deserialize, so it tried to instantiate from outside. So this error indicates the struct cannot be instantiated from outside of the defining crate, as it has been marked as non-exhaustive. As such, more fields and variant may be added in future that could adversely have a side effect on that. So if somebody added this non-exhaustive derive macro or derive attribute, so we can't serialize and deserialize from outside, or we cannot instantiate it. So this particular instantiation by any method will throw an error. So after that, I gone ahead and looked into this model. If you see that, it is creating non-exhaustive. That means I can't serialize and deserialize from outside. So if you see this, there are some, in CD there are some posts also, cannot derive deserialize no exhaustive enum. Cannot derive remote serialize for a non-exhaustive enum. So it is still open, and I think somebody have to patch this remote crate. So for resolving that, I am a little bit stopped. So I have to go to the source code of DynamoDB and patch it up, remove these lines, and compile it again. That I don't think is a wise thing to do. And there are some documentation about here the non-exhaustive attribute. The main idea is that it is just to make some breaking change from DynamoDB side. So they are trying to say that I can add some more attribute. If you are trying to instantiate, so your code may not compile in future. So this is just to block or discourage the client code to instantiate of it. Because if they DynamoDB can add out and remove some fields, so they can provide their own constructor, they can have the internal code can change. But if they don't do that, so from outside we can try to create instance, so it may break if they add or remove some fields. Just to block that, so they're adding like non-exhaustive one. So this is blocking. So unfortunately I cannot able to provide a set deserialize functionality to the remote crate, even after I spent so much time. So this was not very fruitful. So hope you learned something for today. Have a good day. Bye bye.